Hey, and happy Monday, everyone. Happy Monday. Thank you so very much for tuning in to 98.3 FM, The Life. You're listening to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness. And of course, I'm your host, Marty Jalove. I come at you every single Monday night at 7 o'clock to talk about your job, your career, your vision made clear, the skills that you hone for the business that you own, the ups and downs, the smiles and frowns, where you're at and where you're bound. If you miss any part of today's episode, tune in later in the week anywhere you listen to podcasts and listen to the recording, because every one of these episodes are true gems that you want to listen to everything, every single minute, every single moment. And so, every Monday I'm on a quest to bring you the industry best and some really super special guests. And today it doesn't get any more super or special when I have my boys on the line. We're going to be talking today. This is part 7 of a multi-part series on great legendary leaders and what we can learn from the leaders in the past to today. So before we get before we go started, I'm going to just introduce our guys here. So say hello to the world there, Nate.
Hello there, world.
Oh, you guys are such a joy. And Luke, right towards you. What do you got to say?
I don't know. You usually set me up with that, so I have nothing. I can't give you my funny joke, my funny slam.
Wow.
He had such high hopes. He thought for sure, surely I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, exactly. There was going to be something there, something new, but I guess not. You know what? And we don't need anything new because we're talking about the old. We're talking about somebody from many, many, many years ago. There's a little buzzing in there. Did you just hear that?
I hear a little bit. Yeah, Harambe.
Yeah, Harambe. Yes, you got the right name, right? A little Harambe was flying around here. That was that buzzing. Yeah. All right, so we're talking about Harambe, or is it Harambe? What do you think?
Hammurabi.
Wow, thank you, Nate.
Yes, way to go.
It was like Luke was even betting how soon I would screw up the name, and here it was right off the bat.
This is not the gorilla from the Cincinnati's.
No, this is not.
I have a little bit of work to do.
All right. Well, good thing you have a computer in front of you. So we're talking about somebody from 3,800 years ago, right? King Hammurabi, right? Did I get it right that time? Thank you. Excellent. What kind of things can he teach? So I'm going to read this little intro so that those people out there who are listening have an idea what we're talking about and the value we can get from this guy. All right. So picture this leader so committed to fairness that he carved his rules into a towering slab of black stone for everyone to see. I mean, this was not just writing on paper, hiding it in the background. No fine print, no hidden agendas, just clear expectations etched in public for all people to read. The leader is Hammurabi, the Babylonian king who ruled nearly 4,000 years ago, long before management books, leadership podcasts, or corporate handbooks. He understood something we still wrestle with today. People thrive when they know what's expected. This is what's going to be big. This is what we're going to be talking about. When they're aware, when they're held accountable, and when justice isn't just a buzzword. So why does this king from 1750 BCE still matter to you? The modern leader running a team, a company, or community, because the foundations of great leadership haven't changed. The tools they have, the technology has, but the heart of leading people, that's timeless. So let's dig into this guy, Hammurabi. So what I want to do is I'm going to throw it to Luke really quick. First, Luke, have you learned anything, or you got any fun facts for Hammurabi? Tell us. I had to throw it by one of you guys because you have one simple thing to do is Nate's supposed to name the page that he shows up on in somebody's book, and you have to fill us with a fun facts.
Well, I'll start off with the one thing I think most people know Hammurabi for. Okay. The eye for an eye. That is a Hammurabi principle. That's where we get the notion from. And I mean, that isn't that just classic? You know, that's retribution.
Yes, yeah. People. That idea. And so when you think about it, when we've heard that phrase over and over and over again, an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, that to find the origin, the spot where it started, that's really pretty cool. Do you believe, let's just start off really quick before we even get into the greater detail. Do you believe that still stands true today? Do you think that is just punishment, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth? And I'm talking about leadership in business. So what do you think there, Luke?
Well, in leadership and business, I don't think it goes far enough. No.
Wow. Wow.
No, I think it's a fair rule of thumb. Now, in Hammurabi's day, it was law.
Yep.
And I don't really necessarily believe it should be law.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of specific cases, and there's a lot of different arguments you could have about a particular situation versus another. But as a rule of thumb, I think it completely makes sense. The idea of saying, well, this was done to me, or this is how I've been treated, so I'm going to treat others in kind this way.
Okay.
It's not necessarily always a negative mindset to have. Sometimes it's positive. It's the same principle as treat others as you will be treated, basically.
Yeah, I like that. Nate, what do you feel about that in business world? The eye for the eye, tooth for the tooth.
I think that you have to be very careful with those scenarios. And I want to say that part of this is because cultures as a whole have changed so much.
Yes.
And so when if you were to still kind of enact that, I think you would become alienated and almost be seen as kind of barbaric in that sense. And I'm not saying just in the I'm not saying you should be going and actually fist fighting the other salesman when they take your customer, but just we have to understand the concept that's behind it, but maybe also expand on it, because as time changes and people grow, like as culture changes, just because maybe it was rooted in a solid principle, culturally now it's not acceptable, so you're going to do more damage than good.
All right, I can buy into that. Trying to find the right buttons here. Yeah, I think that there's something that we have to really go back to: true justice. First off, I think that's what's really important. But an eye for an eye might be taking it too far. I think as long as we go behind that to say, the punishment should match the crime. I think that's what it comes down to. Obviously, if something happens in the office, we can't just necessarily punish people, but we do have to make sure that they're aware of it, especially within our team. Somebody disses somebody, someone does something to another team member, makes another team member bad. We have to bring this up and talk about it, but we can't just turn around and make the other team member look bad. We had a little conversation about bullying, Luke. Yeah. And so bullying does not go, all right, the punishment for bullying is more bullying.
Yeah, bullying.
Yeah, exactly. So there's something to it, but I think that we all can agree that what's important here is that there has to be justice, and the punishment has to fit the crime. And sometimes within a group, we have to be able to let go of our team members if they don't fit in with, if they don't follow the rules, if they don't do the things that are going to propel the company, if they're not there to help us grow and evolve, especially if they're hurting us or they're hurting other team members. We've got to come up with a proper punishment. Okay. One of the things I really liked about this is I was reading up about Hammurabi. I'm going to mess up his name every time I say it today. So thank you both for that help. But his lasting legacy was not about conquest. Even though he inherited a small kingdom, and then grew it into an empire, it was not about conquest. It was about clarity. It was really this whole idea, the Code of Hammurabi was this idea of these are the laws we're going to put in place, and everyone is accountable. Everyone has to follow the laws. Everybody, I don't care who you were at the top of if you're the team leader, any level, you were going to follow the same rules we were. Now, there might have been some differentiation in the punishment if you broke a law or something like that based on your class. But the bottom line was keeping everyone accountable for that same thing. Okay. So here's some of the stuff that I really like. I wrote a bunch of notes here is this idea of display. The reason for displaying this and telling all the people is it tells you straight out, this is what we stand for. This is how we will treat one another. And this is what happens when those standards are broken. And that to me is so important in any business, to say clearly, this is what we stand for. These are our core values. This is our vision. This is what we're here for. Every business, every team has to make sure that they drive home that idea. We have to drive home, this is our culture. All right. And this is how we treat each other and how we expect everyone to treat each other. Right. And I think that's really important to make that clear in the beginning. Let me ask you, with whether it's your current job, previous jobs, how many jobs have you guys ever gone to that early on when you started, they introduced what they would consider their core values, the things that are most important, the vision for the company, the vision for you? How many people have had that type of clarity in their positions? So let's see who pops up first. Nate, it's to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can honestly say I have not ever had that. Now it's possible because I've worked for a couple big companies.
Yeah.
One of them being PepsiCo.
Okay.
So I would be shocked to find out that there is not somewhere on the wall of a CEO's office or somewhere the core values. But the fact that they were not radiated down to, me just kind of speaks to kind of like what you're saying. It's like we need to not only have these core values, but have them displayed. Everyone has to know what they are. And so it's a lot of companies you go, oh yeah, we got our core values. And then you go ask the the order picker in the warehouse or the delivery driver or the shipping clerk, and they're not gonna know what it is.
No.
It's like, as leadership, it's our job, one, to find them out, and then two, to radiate them to our teams and make sure that they know what we stand.
Nice. I love it. I'm going to take it a step further, is that we have to train upon them. If the core values, we truly know the core values, and a lot of thought has been put in to what those are, and our vision statement and our mission statement. The mission statement is what we do every day. That's what we're here for. The vision is where we want to grow to, and we want you as employees to help us get there. Then I call it the evolution statement, and the evolution statement is how we grow and change, how we handle diversity, and how we handle objections and hurdles that get in our way. But then it's also this culture. What is our culture? How are we treating each other? And we have to define that and think about that. For any company, if you guys had to hire a team, if you could define all of that early on and explain that during the interview, you could find out if the person's going to really fit in or not.
Right.
If you start doing that and they're like, yeah, I know those are fancy words. No, I'm not going to do that. You're not going to hire that person, or you shouldn't, right? You ask them questions about that lead them to tell you stories to see if they follow the same values, if they follow the same culture, etc. And that's how you know if they're in there. And the more we promote it, the more we talk about it, the better off it is. I think you're absolutely right. Too many big companies put their list of values somewhere on the CEO's wall. They put it in their advertisements to tell the world, look at, this is what we stand for, but it never trickles down to the employees. They don't know it. They're sitting there going, I'm just here to get my paycheck.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
They don't care about that. So Luke, I'm going to throw it to you. Anything that you worked for, anywhere that you worked for, that they really drove home the core values, the culture, anything like that?
It's actually really funny you say that. So I've worked at this one pretty, well, not a corporate job, but a place that has a pretty strong corporate hierarchy.
Okay.
And for the longest time, you're supposed to have a online account for certain training purposes.
Okay.
And I was just never given it. So very recently, it was just made a priority to actually get me to do that stuff. So I am actually seeing a lot of the onboarding stuff for the first time.
That's funny.
And boy, let me tell you, they are finding 19 different ways to say the core values.
Really?
Okay. Stuff. But that's the other thing. I'm kind of in the same boat as Nate, where like on these onboarding videos, I get these 6 qualities they want me to learn,
right?
Because they're making sure I hear about it. But I also worked for 5 years,
and never heard about them, right?
And like I might have had an idea of like some of them, but it's certainly not something that was hammered into my day-to-day experience.
Yeah, I love that. That is a perfect example, and it's too bad that that's exactly what happened to you, because you guys are echoing exactly what happens in too many companies. These large companies, especially, it never gets down to the employee, right? But even smaller companies. I was just talking with a company earlier today that I asked them, "Do you have that list of core values?" "No, I just want them to be good people." I'm like, "Okay. Do you have any idea? Do you define your culture, how you treat each other? Everyone should be nice to each other." I'm like, "Okay, yes, those are the givens, but how do you do that, right? And what's your vision?" "Okay, we're going to grow." I'm like, "Okay, but how you need to talk to your people so they understand it, so they feel like they're part of something, right?" And it's really rough when it's what happens is management says, "I've got this idea in my head. I think I know what I want, but this is so obvious. I shouldn't have to explain it to my people." Right. That's what they go through. They just assume everyone knows. And that's the worst part, is thinking that my management team, my supervisors, my employees all feel the same way, when you don't know until you have those conversations.
I will say, as as a manager, the two biggest struggles I have are one, explaining to my team who maybe knows less than me how to do something or how to kind of like what my thought process is. And then
Okay.
two, explaining to all of my superiors who should know more than me
Yep.
what the process is and everything. Like it's
Oh.
translating it. Like it is the biggest struggle. Like I was actually having a talk with my boss the other day, and I was like, I should not be the person to train new people because I cannot dumb it down enough to just kind of like
Wow.
have it be comprehensive. Because like for me, it's I've been 8 years in the industry,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so it is so just ingrained in my very being. I cannot simplify it enough for somebody with less knowledge to understand it. So I've actually had to like identify in my team who I can designate to train.
Yep.
Because I am incapable of breaking it down enough to that level.
I'll tell you, you know what? One of the things is that I hope the people above you appreciate the way you said that. And then they're going to work with you to become a better trainer because it's
Right.
important to become that trainer, that coach, that teacher. But the fact that you can identify that already, to me, is one of the most important things. There's too many people who would be like, "Yeah, I can teach these people. No, nothing, no big deal." But they don't identify the fact that they're not communicating correctly. I think the fact that you point this out and you say, "I need to be better at this. I'm not that good at it," would spark me to tell you, all right, then I'm going to train you to be good at this. And I was, again, working with someone earlier today, and I told him the most important thing is when you stop assuming, all right, you have to explain it as if you're talking to a 5-year-old.
Right.
That was Albert Einstein's idea. If you can't explain it to a 5-year-old, chances are you don't understand it yourself.
Right.
Okay. And then secondly is turn around and have them explain it back to you. Because if they can't explain it back to you, that means that they never truly understood it either.
Right.
Okay. And if they didn't understand it, then that means that the way you explained it might have been okay to explain it that way, but it wasn't the way that they needed to hear it. So if you really live by those two things, and that is teach them like you're teaching 5-year-olds, okay, as simple as possible. And secondly, get them to explain it back to you so that you're sure they heard you. Okay. And you got to tell them, I'm not trying to teach you like a child. I just want to make sure you understand this. You know this because this stuff is important to us.
Right.
Okay. If you can do that, then you become a much better teacher as opposed to a lecturer standing in front of a group of people,
Right.
shouting out things and hoping that 10% of them get it.
And it's one of those things too, where if you go on and you give your spiel, your speech, whatever to your team, and everybody goes,
Yeah.
And then the next day you're having to have the same conversation because they didn't understand it.
Right.
Now you were at such an elevated level of frustration going, you guys all told me you got it. You very clearly didn't get it. What do I have to say to get through to you? And so now they're on the defensive. You're frustrated. And so it's like, if you take the time early on, just dig deep and just like find that within you to be able to break it down and simplify it, you're going to save yourself weeks of heartache afterwards.
Yeah.
Continuing to explain the same thing.
I think it's cool to be able to ask them straight up. Did you get it? Did you get it? And when they go, yeah, I got it. Say, okay, now explain to me what you got.
Right.
Okay. And then listen to what they have to say. Luke, you're sitting there quiet. You got anything to add to that?
No, I just think it's good dialogue. Yeah, they've always said that the way to, because I'm pretty involved in the trivia world.
Yes, there you go.
It is one of the classic ways to actually get to know something and learn something is to teach someone else.
Oh my God, 100%.
It's the most effective way to actually get involved with a body of knowledge. So yeah, I have nothing to add. I think you guys are covering the space pretty well.
Wow, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. We're just that good at this.
Yeah.
All right. All right. I want to get into this next part. The whole idea of the reason this show is called Bacon Bits with Master Happiness is because everything bacon touches becomes just a little bit better. All right. So we're going to see who can do this. All right. So this is Bacon Bits. And of course, wow, you're both like ready for this. All right.
Anyway, Luke's got this one.
Yeah. All right. I'll just make sure. So obviously, like I said, everything bacon touches becomes just a little bit better. But obviously, we're not talking about the bacon for chewing.
No, Dad. We're talking about the bacon for doing.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. That next month, that's going to be a tough one to beat.
Yeah. That was good.
Right. Yes. We are talking about the bacon for doing. So in this show, what we do is we kind of use a loose outline. We come up with 5 things we're going to be talking about. This is the framework, the 5 leadership lessons that wrapped around bacon or wrapped with bacon that we learned from Hammurabi. All right, and it's very, very interesting that it's bacon in his first part.
Ham.
That's right. That's right. All right. So
Hammurabi.
That's right. So when we get into this, the B in this bacon is build clear standards. This is exactly what we're talking about. First off, it's not just building standards, but make them so clear that everyone can understand them. And so this guy threw them up in stone, carved in stone, so there was no question. A is act with accountability. Doing that whole thing, coming right back to right out of the gate. Luke, you brought up the eye for the eye. So important. Everyone's got to be accountable for it. You don't just say, well, mistakes happen. We got to learn from mistakes and create processes so mistakes don't keep repeating themselves. C is champion fairness, okay, which is really, really important. This was at a point in time where people were not necessarily treated fair. And he was like, no, let's make it fair. If there's this law, everyone is accountable for it and everyone gets punished. Okay. O is going to be own the outcomes. All right. He took accountability for his own things and saying, this is what's going on. And it was good to train people to understand when you do things, we made it perfectly clear what we expect from you. We told you we're going to hold you accountable. Now own it. Okay. And I think that's really important. And then N is going to be nurture order from chaos. In other words, watch the chaos, see what's happening, try to define the chaos and try to find order within the chaos. So let's just go right back to the B, which is build clear standards. Either one of you guys, you guys have process manuals or books that really tell you everything to do step by step?
Absolutely.
Okay. And how often, let me ask you, how often do you refer to them?
Well, in my particular line of work, if you're still looking at the book to tell you what to do, you would get let go.
Okay. All right.
My stage.
Okay. But let me ask you this. How do they put a change in that book? How do they update it? How does it evolve and make sure that if you're in a position where you're not looking at it on a regular basis, how do they say when we make a change, how do they know for sure that you know about the change?
It's a good question. For our particular company, they expect it to go down the chain of command where we have a pretty solidly defined chain of command where, we have our boss, but then all of us in the store are pretty familiar with our boss's boss, comes in all the time.
Okay.
And that's how information is expected to flow, where if the top person that we interact with gets new information from the top person they interact with, they're expected to spread that through the ranks, which admittedly word of mouth is not always the cleanest way because you don't interact with everybody.
Right.
But it's better than in a situation like ours where, again, we don't regularly consult a guide.
Right. Yeah. And most places are not going to regularly consult the guidebook. Right. Nate, what about you? What about these process manuals, anything like that? How do you guys update them? How often do you refer to them, or how often do you have your people refer to them?
So that's actually in a company that I worked for.
Yep.
It was one of the biggest challenges because it was a very tribe-like knowledge company.
Okay.
And so then they were acquired. And so with that came a bunch of new policies. And I mean, we when I was working there, we didn't have SOPs. We didn't have, it was just, you came in and you were told that this is the way that we do things. And so that's just kind of what you did. And so then as new policies were rolled out, part of the problem was there was not a clear defined way for it to be communicated to everyone.
Gotcha.
And so much like Luke said, it was, kind of like the word of mouth. And so if you asked somebody at the top of the chain, the new process is rolled out and everybody's followed it. And you get about 3 or 4 links down and people go, I've never even heard of this, because somewhere along the way it has done that. So it has definitely been a challenge, and was a challenge when I was there for me to sit there and go, okay, how can I radiate this to my team? What is the delivery method that I'm going to have for them to kind of communicate this change?
Gotcha.
And so just kind of it's definitely a challenging piece, because again, it's kind of like what I was saying, whereas to me, something that was so clear as the why, explaining that and really breaking it down, it can be really challenging.
So,
go ahead. Sorry, just to be fair to our companies, I think this would have been pretty hard for Hammurabi too. He's got 282 laws chiseled in stone
to make a change.
And then someone's like, actually, I think you should do this.
Get another stone. Right. Yeah, no, I understand that completely. But one of the things is that I did working with so many different companies and learning from their process manuals and saying, these are the ways we want to do this, especially when you're like, once we have these rules in place, how do we teach the next people? Because you don't want the CEO to go, I'm the only one who really knows the rules. So every time there's a new person, I'll train them, right? You can't have that, right? So you have to have that person train these people, that person train these people, et cetera, down the line. And I said, it's just like the phone game. When I tell you something and then the way you interpret it, you tell Nate, and then Nate, you listen to it, you interpret it, you tell the next person. Sometimes when it goes down that far, and then that person has to train the next person, it changes. It's like the phone game, right? And so I use that acronym, PHONE, and I wrote a white paper on it. And what I'll do is I'll put the link in the write-up, the post we put on after the show about PHONE as far as writing the service manual or the procedures manual. And I truly believe it's like this. The P stands for purpose. You have to start out right away and define the purpose. The reason we have this, the reason we're writing this up is because this is an important part of our overall. This fits into what we are trying to do. We need everyone to understand it. We need them to do it a very specific way. So I think the purpose has to start. Then what happens is the H is the hurdles. You have to address all the problems you are going to run into following the process. Too often what we do is we say, press A, press B, press C. And all of a sudden somebody walks in. What if my computer doesn't have a C button? What am I supposed to do? So what you do is you highlight all the hurdles, all the problems. That's the H. The O is ownership. And what I like to do is, let's say, Luke, I'm training you on a new procedure. I hand you the book and I go, now you own the book. Okay, I don't write it. You own the book. You write it up as I'm explaining it to you. And then you give it back to me and I read it and go, yeah, that's what I told you. This way I know for sure that you've got it. So you're the owner of the book. All right. And you own that section of the book, that whole procedure, until we have someone else that needs to be trained on it. All right. And the reason you have an owner to it is if nobody owns it, then we all say, oh, I thought Nate was going to update it. Oh, I thought John was going to update it. I thought Bill was going to update it. Nobody ever updates it. So right now you own it. The N then stands for notification. You have to have a system in place that we can notify everyone when a change happens. Hey, we highlight this, we put a date here, we put in a new page, we make copies of that page and we give it to everybody, etc. But we have a way to notify people, because you never want people to come back later going, oh, I didn't know we made a change. I had read that manual years ago. I didn't know we made a change. And then lastly, you drive home the E, is you drive home the idea to everyone that it's an evolving, living being, the service manual. It is not printed one time and never changed. Okay, and that definitely is what Hammurabi would have hated. Going, well, I got to change this every week. Yeah, every week we update it, right? Get a little grout instead of whiteout and just fill up those cracks and let's do something new. But I think it's really important to understand that in that order. And I think one of the things we miss out on is we never give the right person ownership of the procedures manual. We go, the company owns it, we'll take care of it, we'll update it, you just read it. And I think there's a lot more power. Think about that, Nate. If I taught you something and I had you rewrite that page in the owner's manual, first off, you're going to say, I better memorize this. I'm the one who, I had to write it. Okay. And so then whether it's you or me, to make sure everyone's notified about it, you are really going to know it. All right. Inside and out, as opposed to me just teaching you that. Right. And I think it's so very important, because me as the leader, I shouldn't have to go, I'm the only one who can train. Now, because I trained you, you wrote it. I came back, looked at it, talked to you. Maybe we edit it. By the time we're done with that, now you have the ability to train someone else on that same thing. And I think that's what's so important about that. All right. So that was B, build clear standards. And I think it's so very important, even going back to when we talked about our values and our culture. I think it's really important, because the more we can write those things out and make sure that we have regular meetings, daily huddles, weekly one-on-ones with our people, that we continue to educate on those core values, okay? And keep telling people, what does that mean? When you talk about we're an inspiring company, what does that mean? Tell me something you've done lately that you would say you've inspired other people. And we're like, oh, really? I got to do that? Yeah, that's one of our core values. That's what it's all about. Okay, so let's jump into this A, which is act with accountability. Okay, this is Luke. This is your favorite one. This is the I for the I version. All right, and you got to ask yourself, do I model the accountability that I expect? So as a leader, am I accountable for my actions, or do I just tell people to become accountable and then I hide behind my title? Okay. So I want to hear, Luke, you got any stories about accountability, anything like that? Any time that you felt you could have been more accountable, or someone else, maybe someone above you, that you're like, wow, they were not accountable.
Specific stories, not
Then make up
off the top
something.
of my head, but I agree that I think it's always important to, whenever you make a mistake, own it.
Yeah.
Like, own your own mistakes and obfuscate the mistakes of others, at least to other people. Like,
I like it.
I think that's just a way to live in both life and work.
But how do you deal with it with and I'll throw it to you still. How do you deal with it when you're the one owning up to your mistakes, being accountable, then you're seeing other people make mistakes, but they're not taking a responsibility? How does that affect you, and do you do anything about it?
I mean, what you do is you confront them.
Okay.
Because they're the source of the problem. So that's what I'm saying. Like, when you obfuscate the mistakes of others, I'm not saying you completely ignore them. I'm saying, it's what we've talked about. I think last month was the idea of, like, when you have a problem with your team, don't say, "Oh, I've got a problem with this guy." Say, we're having a problem, and then you try to figure it out.
Gotcha.
Like, take that upon yourself, unless it's an extenuating circumstance, because that's going to be the best way for you, and as a collaborator, and especially as, like, a leader, is to say, like, I am going to be hyper aware of the mistakes I make.
Yep.
And not make people feel like complete pariahs for the mistakes they make, while also making sure they're aware what I expect of them.
Gotcha. We're going to come back in just a minute. I'm going to hear from Nate on what he's feeling about this, about accountability in general. But first, we're going to hear a couple of messages about some of the other shows and the people who support this station. So please stay tuned. And we are back. We're back. Thank you so very much for staying tuned in to 98.3 FM, The Life. You're listening to Bacon Bits with Master Happiness. I'm the host, Marty Jalove, and I'm here with my boys, Luke and Nate, and Luke. All of them are right here. And so we've been talking about the Bacon leadership of Hammurabi, the Babylonian king from 3,800 years ago. The 5 lessons we've been talking about are Bacon today is build clear standards. A is act with accountability. C is champion fairness. O is own the outcomes, and N is nurture order from chaos. So I'm going to just finish up this accountability. Nate, you got anything to add to accountability before we move on to champion fairness?
Yeah, I think one of the...
I might have. I turned on the wrong ones. There you go. Try it now.
There we go. All right.
Sorry.
Hello, folks. No, one of the biggest things is just kind of from the accountability pieces, you have to own it. Like, I'm a firm believer in extreme ownership. I read a book about a year ago titled Extreme Ownership.
Nice.
And it's the idea of, like, for me and what I radiate to my supervisors is that I am only as good as they are. They are only as good as their dispatchers are, and their dispatchers are only as good as the drivers are. So at the end of the day, if a driver fails at doing whatever is expected of them, ultimately I fail as a leader because I didn't radiate down to my team what's going on. And so I think that if you model that, but then use that to hold people accountable. So, when there's an issue, let's say, somebody comes and goes, this driver isn't following, my directions. Is it, you start asking, like, okay, were you clear in what you were asking of them? And then if they get kind of fuzzy, then I'm like, do I need to be more clear in what I'm asking of you and asking you to tell the driver? And so it's kind of that piece of if I lead the conversations on accountability by taking accountable, like saying, hey, what do I need to do to make sure you are able to do
I like that.
That then they have that mindset when they're talking to somebody who messes up, and not just going, oh, he screwed it all up. It's
right.
Were we clear in our communication and owning it? Like, hey, I should have told you how to do this better. And it kind of helps radiate that down rather than just going, hey, your guys are always screwing up. And they go, yeah, they're a bunch of screw ups. It's like, no, we need to radiate to them our expectation.
I love the fact, because the way you're saying it, we've all heard that too much. A leader goes, yeah, this whole team, look at the screw ups I got, right? And you have to say that's a reflection of what you're doing. You're the leader. This is your team. If you knock that team, how do you expect them to follow you? How do you expect them to emulate what you're doing, right? And so I love how all that kind of stuff you're talking, and I love the fact that you're echoing exactly what Luke was saying about own your mistakes, own everything about what you do, so that you are the perfect example for your team. So they look at you and they go, yeah, hey, Nate's doing it, so I'm gonna own up to it. It's part of it is offering also some psychological safety to make them feel like I'm not going to get shot down admitting I made a mistake. Because as soon as they feel like they've lost everything, they've lost respect, they lost any opportunity to grow, they're going to be looked down upon. As soon as that, they're going to get in trouble for making a mistake. As soon as that kind of stuff happens, they're going to hide the mistakes. They're going to blame someone else, right? And I would much rather drive home this point of let's all learn from these mistakes. Let's grow from the mistakes. The only time I'm going to be upset about a mistake is if you're making the same mistake over and over and over again. And even before that, even before I get too angry with them about that, I'm going to ask, have I been teaching it correctly? Did I follow the same rules we talked about earlier? Did I explain it like I'm talking to a 5-year-old? And did I have you bring it back to me so I know that you understand? And it goes into the service manual. If you wrote it, okay, you can't come back and go, I didn't know that. Right. Okay. So let's just jump into this C, which is champion fairness. Okay. Hammurabi's code was all about justice. All right. His fairness was built on loyalty. It was this whole idea that everyone knew what was happening. Fairness isn't treating everyone the same. It's treating everyone justly. Okay. And I think that's so important because you've got to do it first. You've got to stick to that rule. But then you've got to promote it and put that out in front of everyone. This is how we grow. This is how we lead. And you've got to do this on a regular basis so that people go, yeah, like you were saying, Nate, this is how your team then leads the next group. Yeah, I'm going to do this because Nate is showing me. I'm going to mirror Nate. As soon as you get one person within that level who treats it differently, goes, no, we're not going to do it that way. As soon as they do that, that breaks the chain and it all falls apart going downhill. All right. So anyone got anything to mention on that? Championing fairness. Both of you are a little quiet there. I'll throw it to you anyway, Luke.
It's the sort of thing. I remember there's this classic like cartoon.
Okay.
Where it's
I always loved classic cartoons.
It's a guy and his daughter, and they're like looking over the fence of a baseball game.
Yes.
It's the equality versus equity.
Nice.
And I think that's kind of the point you're
drumming
on is and you see, they both they're both looking at the fence, but the father's clearly taller so he can see the ball game.
Right.
Whereas the little child cannot. And equity is where you actually get the little child a slightly larger box so it can actually see over the fence.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, the idea is like it's not necessarily about giving everyone the exact same treatment because that isn't always what's needed in the world and in the business. Is what you need is more individualized things for different people who require different things for their jobs.
Yeah, I would agree. Right.
Do. So that's what I'll have to say about it.
Okay, I love it.
That's the team.
Do you got anything to add to that one, Nate?
No, and I think you can.
No, but here,
yeah, sure. Not to take anything away from Luke said, but it's my turn to talk.
All right, go for it.
I think so many people, it is so easy to look and say, look at what they're doing over there. Look at what's being done for them.
Yep.
And people get so focused on that. And so it's kind of that concept and how radiating that to your team of like, we need to focus on what is the right moves, what are the right steps for all of us to win together, rather than worrying about what steps we're taking individually. We want to we want all of us to be doing well together. And it looks different for people. People function different ways. People learn different ways. People, process information, whatever, different ways. And so it's being able to radiate that to your team that I am going to set you up. I'm going to give you everything you possibly can to succeed.
Yep.
And what you need to be able to succeed might be different from what somebody else needs to succeed, but you need to understand that I am going to make sure all of you are set up for success.
Gotcha. I like that a lot. And I'm going to agree with you here is as we get into O with this own the outcomes, it's echoing a lot of what we're already talking about, is this idea of you got to scream that the buck stops here. And I've still worked with so many people that in the smaller meetings where the leadership team is talking to the owners or they're talking to their above, they still kind of blame, well, I got this one person, can't get them to do what they're supposed to do. And I keep saying in the back of my mind, do you understand what you're saying? Is you're basically saying, I know my job is to lead these people and to teach these people and to help them evolve and grow. But I got these people who can't be led. They're never going to grow. They can't learn. And you're sitting there going, but that's your job, is to make sure they can. Okay.
Yep.
And you've got to come up with some way to do this. And too often what we want to do as leaders is I just want the cookie cutter approach. I want to teach. I want to preach. Go to everyone exactly the same. I taught them this. I said this. They should all pick it up. Instead, we have to learn, if we really want to evolve and really want to grow, we have to understand that Marty, is going to learn differently than Luke. Luke's going to learn differently than you, Nate. Okay. The reason is because we come from different backgrounds. We've learned different things. We've had different things thrust upon us, right? And so somebody can come in here. Somebody throws out a fact, a trivia fact. Nate, out of the three of us, who do you think is better going to remember a trivial fact?
It's going to be Luke.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And look, you don't agree with that, Luke? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go. So what I'm saying is that we have to teach everyone different by identifying we're all different, and we have to identify each person's strengths. And if I am going to take on the position as the leader, if I'm going to say, yes, I'm going to lead this team, then you had better lead the team, not blame the team. Right. And I think that's the whole idea of owning the ownership, or owning the outcome of everything that happens.
Right.
All right. Because if you can't own it, what do you're going to keep bothering and passing the blame down the line? Okay. No, you've got every, as me as an individual, I have a particular job. I was taught how to do this. So I'm going to own that. I'm going to do the best, whatever it is. If my job is just putting a screw into a hole, I'm going to be the best at putting that screw in the hole. My supervisor comes up and they got to teach me, Marty, not only are you putting the screw in the hole, but you're also putting a nail in this hole. All right. They've got to teach me that. So then I get excited and I want to be the best at both of those things. He can't go later and go, this guy only puts the screw in the hole, never does the nail. I don't know what's wrong with him. No, right. Because it's not what's wrong with me. It's what's wrong with the person above me. Okay. And if it comes down to it, that is a problem with me at the bottom level, then maybe I'm in the wrong position.
Right.
Okay. And the wrong position could be a different department or it could be a different company, whatever it is. But that's a whole separate conversation. All right. So this last part, I want to get into this N, and then we got some time, so we can talk about a little bit of the fun facts of Hammurabi. Okay. We'll see which of you guys have fun facts. I know Luke already broke the ice with the eye for the eye. So nurture order from chaos. And this is this idea of this structure, stability, a shared sense of order. You have got to make everyone in the company, everyone in your team, feel like there is a little bit of control. There is something that is being done correctly, not that we're running haphazardly. I have worked for plenty of companies where employees are going, I don't know what we're supposed to be doing. Right? Like I come in here, I do whatever I can. I keep my head down so no one points me out. I get my little part of the job done. But what we do as a whole, I don't know. It just seems like crazy. Everyone's running around in different directions. So one of the first things is we go back to what we said in the beginning, those core values, whether we have to carve them in that black stone, so everyone can see them, or we print them out and we give them to employees and we train on them. We talk about them. Whatever it is, we tell people we actually have a direction to go in. We have something we want to do. That's the whole idea of nurture order from chaos. All right. Anybody here want to talk about something, or have you seen something chaotic in the workplace, whether it's you working there or working with another company? Because I've got something, the more I thought about it, I got something I wanted to share.
Well, I mean, if you've got something, then maybe I don't need to ramble like I'm going to.
Ramble.
For me, strangely, the most chaotic times at my work, the times when there is the most business and it's the most unprepared, that is weirdly when I feel the most zen and the most together, because that's when there is it's what we talk about, the clarity. In that moment, it's like, okay, what do I need to do right now?
The flow state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we have all of this happening, but there is one thing I have to do so that I can do the next thing, so that we can knock all of these dominoes down and actually get progress out of this otherwise unideal situation.
I like it. I like it. Nate, anything around there, or you're still thinking?
Let's see what you got to say. I got something I'm ruminating on. I just can't get
to it. Gotcha. So I'm recently I've been talking to a couple different doctors' offices, and it's just like that. Some of the answers I'm getting is, you would think that the people at the doctor's offices, the people setting appointments, talking to the patients, should have the absolute most amount of empathy, right? And earlier today, I was talking about trying to set up an appointment with somebody, and I was like, look, I know I got an appointment set up. I'd just like to move it up a little bit sooner. Is that possible? And she was like, no, it's not possible. And I was like, everything's a little possible. I go, is there any way, can I talk to the doctor? Doctor's busy. Can I talk to one of the other doctors? And she finally goes, you know what? I'll call you back. And click, hung up on me. I was like, wow. You just think about this. I'm calling a doctor's office, no matter what it is. There's any business you deal with, I want them to be empathetic to me as the client, right? But a doctor's office, you really want them to be a little more caring. And I don't even care if they fake it, okay? But to say, yeah, I'll call you back, click, and hang up on me, because it's kind of like, I got another call. I got someone else I got to talk to, so I can't talk to you anymore. That attitude, that does not instill you with the spirit or the feeling of like, oh, these people are going to take care of me. Okay. So I'm going to throw it. So this whole idea of the chaos that I think is going on in there is that there's too much going on. There's too much of the people knowing little bits and pieces of what they're supposed to do, but no true leadership to say, hey, this is what you need to be doing. I'll bet you there's no chance that person's talking to their leader going, hey, this is how I handled that. Could I have handled it better? There's no conversation going on. And those are the conversations, especially in the medical world, should be happening more often.
Right.
Okay. So Nate, did you have something?
No, I just in my.
I like how you always start with no.
Yeah,
here,
no.
let me tell you. No. Here we go.
No.
Yes.
No, in my office, I have kind of a rule that I try to hold my team to, because it gets chaotic. We have loads coming and going, drivers calling, customers calling, dealing with the support teams, everything, and it can get overwhelming at times.
Yep.
And my one rule is, we do not ever make the drivers feel like we are too busy for them.
Beautiful.
And it stems from me being a driver, and very distinctly, I remember two separate instances. Once it was a Saturday that I was working, and I called the on-call dispatcher.
Okay.
Because I was having an issue with my tractor, and they said, Nate, can't you just figure it out? I'm at a birthday party right now. I can't deal with this. Yeah. And hung up the phone. And I was like, I will never call that dispatcher for anything again. I was like, that was like, I have a problem. You're being paid to help me.
Yeah.
And you're telling me you are too busy to deal with this.
Yeah.
And then the other one was, I remember it was the one dispatcher I called, their shift ended at 3.
Yeah.
And I called them at like 2:58. And I said, hey, I'm sitting on the side of the road with a flat tire. Can you get road service? And they said, call somebody else. My shift's about to end.
Man, how are you supposed to feel? Right.
So to this day, and it was a challenge, because I actually moved from being a driver to eventually being both of those dispatcher superiors. And so it was challenging for me, because I would hear them talk to drivers, and they'd hang up the phone, and I would call, you need to call them back.
Yep.
And you need to handle that, because as a driver, when you are sitting in a loading dock or you're dealing with traffic or whatever, when they call into us, they need to be calling to a place of like calm and serenity. I said, this building could be on fire. If they call, it is like it is a cool, calm breeze.
Yep.
In here. I said, because they don't want to hear that. And so that's a really strong thing I put with my team, is no matter what you are, no matter how busy you are. And I make a point to model it, and make sure my supervisor models it as well. I could be dealing with 100 things and driving to me, okay, Nate, you got a minute?
Yeah.
And
I like that.
And I'll take it. And then there's times I found stuff out, just like taking those 2 minutes. They're like, hey, I just want to let you know, my brother just passed away, and I'm having kind of a tough time. Can I take tomorrow off? And if I was like, yeah, I'll deal with you in a minute. Like these, like,
right.
You have to just make those moments and just be able to establish that in all the chaos, be able to just pull that serenity together just a little bit.
I like that so much. All of that. I just always remember when I'd have teams, whether they were salespeople, like I ran a phone room, telemarketers, right? Everyone loves a good telemarketer. So I ran teams and trained them how to keep people on the phone. I ran customer service rooms where people were just constantly bombarded by problems, and my people had to solve them. And I always told them, if anyone on the phone was ever rude to you, if you ever found yourself in a position that you couldn't answer the question, you just needed like that Hail Mary, all right, you could always transfer it to me. I don't care if I'm in a meeting, transfer me the call. I will take it, especially if someone's rude to you, being mean to you. All right, you just transfer it to me. I will take care of it. You can hand it to me all the time. So that just gave them that power, that freedom to be a little freer in the way they spoke. They had a little bit more courage because they had a big brother standing behind them. And I think that's what's so important. And I know you live by what you're just saying. Nate, you pick up the phone anytime, 24 hours a day, it seems like.
Right.
Okay. And so it's great because your team can say, I can do what I need to do because I know I've got real, true support. The toughest part is making sure that you're never taken advantage of.
Right.
Okay. And sometimes it's that thin line because I loved what I did. Okay. And I never really felt like I was being taken advantage of. Okay. But if I would have, if I felt like I was being taken advantage of, then I'd have to start that conversation with whoever that was.
It's about setting those boundaries. And I've had to do that. I've gotten a phone call at 2 a.m. where a driver's like, hey, can I have next Tuesday off? And I go, we will talk about this during business hours.
Yes,
this is not the time.
You didn't need to call me.
Right.
Now.
You didn't need to call me right now. I understand that you're working right now, but you also know that I'm not working and you're going to see me at 5 a.m. at the end of your shift.
There you
go.
There you go.
Those boundaries need to be there.
I gotcha. So I want to wrap this kind of up. The idea of Hammurabi, the things I really want us to keep in mind is that he created these true core values, these ideas, these laws that he said, I want us all to live by this because this is just. And he said, I believe in it so much that we're not just talking about it. I'm not shouting from a hill to you. What I'm doing is I'm carving it into stone, sitting up here for us all to read. I'm going to make sure that anyone is accountable for these things. This is not just for a few people. This is for everyone, including myself. We're going to make sure we own our mistakes. We're held accountable for those mistakes, and we grow and we, and thrive together. And I think that's what's really important. It's important that he created a culture and created the standards we're going to live by. He did this whole thing so that everyone understood what was expected from them, made it as pure, as clear as possible. And I think that's so important. Those couple of things are the most important thing for any company to learn, to be really clear about what's expected of your people, to show them that you will own your own mistakes, you will become accountable, and you will hold them accountable for their mistakes. Okay. And the mistakes that happen, you have to make sure that you look upon it and saying, is this a mistake? Is this a problem with the process, or is this a problem with the person?
Yeah.
And is it a problem with the person being you, or is it a problem with me because I didn't explain it well enough? And I think they have to first be able to identify that and then continue to move forward. So with these last couple of minutes, let me see. Anything that, let me see, I'm looking through mine that we mentioned a lot of these. Hammurabi, one of the things that he was famous for is he built extensive canals and irrigation systems to improve agriculture and manage water resources. And I think that's really important. That just shows that he wasn't just a Mongol trying to attack other cities and taking their goods. He was really building something.
Yep.
Luke, it looks like you got something.
I've got a fun little game.
Since a game?
We're wrapping
Nice,
things up.
nice.
Yeah. I've actually got a little passage of Hammurabi's code here. I want to see.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you a discretion, like something that might happen.
Okay.
I want you to tell me what you think Hammurabi
would have said.
should have done.
All right.
So here it is if a man accuses another man and charges him with homicide, but cannot bring proof against him, what do you think Hammurabi thinks should happen? So it's a guy who says, hey, this person committed murder,
but he can't prove it.
But I have no proof of it. What do you guys think?
Wow. I am only going to say, based on the time frame, I'm going to say that they lose like a limb or something like that.
Nate, any guess?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with your dad. It's either death or losing a limb. It's something severe.
Nate, you're closer. Killed.
Killed? Really?
If you can't prove it, but you're saying it anyway.
Oh, then you get killed for accusing it.
Killed.
Oh, wow.
You need the
that's
proof.
rough.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yes,
I guess
like if that way, like he's not going to waste his time with
I like
people
it.
accusing each
True.
other, clogging up his courts
I guess
with
that makes
a bunch of false accusations. Like if you are going to,
it really holds back. It really holds back and going, yeah, I can't prove it.
Yeah. Was he the one? Was he the one with the scales too? I remember reading about or hearing about somebody that if you accused a merchant of having bad scales, the police would come and they'd weigh him, and if the scales were wrong, they would kill the merchant. But if the scales were right, you either lost a limb or you were killed.
I could see that being Hammurabi. I don't have the full.
Wow. Do you have another one though?
Yeah, I got one more. Here, this was a fun one. If an ox gores to death a man,
yes,
while it is passing through the street,
while the ox is passing through the street.
Ox passes through the streets
and gores
kills
a man.
Kills a person. What do you guys think? I'll give it to the person who gets closer.
I'm going to go with the owner of the ox is killed.
Nate?
Yeah, I was going to go with that.
You shouldn't have stuck with him.
Yeah.
There is no legal basis for claims.
Really?
It happens. That's what Hammurabi's cool with.
I like it. It happens, you know.
What are you going to do? Kill the ox?
Right.
Here's just to kind of wrap it up from my perspective, and something I really liked about this. We didn't touch a ton of it. But we also was really the only thing we talked about. So much of his success was around building a strong foundation and a strong infrastructure. And it is so easy in business and in like you think about like conquering armies, like going in and winning the sale or getting the piece of business or a lot of times like I always the challenge is my team because I'm usually the team that follows the initial startup of whatever department or area we're taking over. And it's like you've got the parachuters that fly in, they storm the beach, they take it. And that's the easy, that's the glory, that's the fun part. The tough part is then being the occupying.
Make sure you tell them that.
Yeah,
that's the easy part.
But it's the occupying army that then has to put down the rebellion. Make sure everybody has food and water. Make sure that you are have enough food, for your troops and everything like that. And so it's that idea of as companies are growing, they need to be just as focused on growth as they are on sustainability, making sure that like the core values that their teams that they're building behind. You can't just hire a bunch of managers and let them run wild without standard operating procedures and everything like that. And so it's that you really have to have that strong base or you will fail.
I love it. I love it all. All right. With that, it's 8:00. I want to say goodbye. Thank you guys both so very much for this. This has been a fun explanation, even though it's as basic as it can be. This guy, what we learned from him is so overly simplified. It's kind of like tell him what you mean and mean what you say, right? Just moving forward like that. So again, in about a month, we're going to have another guy, a famous leader. We'll talk about that. We'll figure out who that's going to be. But definitely go to baconbitsradio.com to find out who will be popping up in another month, and tune in every single Monday night here on the station 98.3 FM to learn about the other shows, what we're talking about every single Monday night. Thank you so very much for listening, and ta-ta for now.